Until age 40, I was convinced I'd die young. Not in some vague, fading into nothing way, but suddenly, brutally, unexpectedly. Though I don't need to worry about dying young anymore, I still periodically update the flowers and music for my memorial service. And for years, I've read the obituaries every Sunday, often sharing them aloud with my husband and kids, prompting my husband to ask, "Why are you so obsessed with death?" I've never had a good answer, not even a theory, really, until I decided to write a story about gerbils. The idea comes to me while I'm walking north on the 101 near Cardiff. Squirrels dart in and out of dense underbrush that separates me from cliffs leading to the beach. A breeze is blowing off the ocean, and I breathe in deeply, expecting fresh, salty air. But instead, I'm assaulted by the smell of urine-soaked cedar. In an instant, I'm back in the eternally damp basement of my childhood home, performing my least favorite chore, cleaning out gerbil cages. My family had a shitload of gerbils, literally a ping-pong table-sized world of Habitrail. Multi-leveled, interconnected cages filled with wheels, water bottles, and nests of cedar chips. Inside, a massive horde of rodents, all of whom could trace their bloodlines back to two gerbils, Winnie and Hoppy. Two 4-inch pets with rat-like tails that my brothers and sisters and I were told would be just as good as a dog. Walking on the 101 towards Swami's, I think about the gerbils and think some more. A lot of thinking about gerbils. Passing the gold dome of the Self-Realization Fellowship, I call my brother Michael. Michael's 51, a year younger than I am, and an entrepreneur in digital communications systems. He's the guy everyone wants to buy a drink for. Funny, gregarious. When he answers the phone, though, his voice is quiet, subdued. "Where are you?" I ask. "Jury duty in the lounge. What's up?" "Do you remember when we got Winnie and Hoppy?" "Your cats?" Michael says. "Why would I know that?" Michael is not a cat person. He's a dog person. He rescues dogs. He has 4 or 5 in his house at all times. "Not my cats. The gerbils, Winnie and Hoppy." "The gerbils we had when I was like 5. How do you even remember their names?" "How do you not remember?" I say. "You named them, remember? Winnie was always on the wheel, racing to win, and Hoppy, well, because he hopped a lot." "Now that you say the names, I remember why. Do not tell me you're calling me about gerbils." "Well, yeah, I was going to write a story, but there are holes in my memory. Like, I remember Mom got 2 gerbils because the pet store guy said they were social animals. He swore he'd sexed them, and they were both boys." Michael interrupts. "But then one of them got pregnant." "Winnie," I say. "Winnie got really fat." And we were like, "How is that possible when all he does is run on that wheel?" And then, bam, she had like 6 babies, and then another 6. And the babies had babies, and we started buying more and more Habitrail until the ping pong table was this elaborate kingdom filled with incestuous generations of gerbils. "And then they escaped," Michael says. And Dad was like, "Sayonara." I turn around, head south on the 101, sweating, recalling how furious Dad was when Mom told him some gerbils had gone missing. "What do you mean you can't find them all?" Dad had asked, though clearly he knew the answer. Our basement was a fucking mess. Christmas decorations, dress-up clothes, art projects, paint cans, old toys, small antiques Mom intended to refinish, and cardboard banana boxes filled with National Geographic, Life, and Playboy magazines, which Dad swore would bring in a pretty penny someday as collector's items. The basement was an escaped gerbil's heaven. I remember all 5 kids, plus my mom, on the gerbil hunt for hours. I asked Michael how many gerbils we had total. The number in my head is like 84. He says, "I don't know, 15, 20, a couple dozen maybe." I think way too low. I recall and share that it was when the gerbils chewed through Dad's speaker wires that Mom finally had to get rid of them. How she called all the pet stores, but nobody wanted gerbils. How they told her to drown them. Drown them? Michael says, no way Mom would have done that. Of course not, I say. Remember? She had us take the habit trail apart and put a few gerbils in each section. We loaded them in the station wagon and drove around to all the pet stores. Mom would pull up, we'd jump out, and leave a piece of habit trail by the door with a note that said, like, please give our gerbils a good home. What? Michael says. I do not remember driving around to pet stores. Does sound like Mom. At least she saved their lives. Yeah, I say, so we thought. Until Mom learned they may have used the gerbils as snake food. Snake food? No shit, Michael says. It's a good thing I didn't know that then when I was just a little kid. That kind of shit could mess you up. On the 101, I'm back at the gold dome of self-realization, realizing I was 7, maybe 8, when I found out about the snakes. I hear an amplified voice in the background. They're calling names. Michael says, I gotta go. Call Amy. She'll remember. Driving home, I call Amy. She was 9 when we got the gerbils. She doesn't remember Winnie and Hoppy's names either until I say them. She does, however, remember crushing a baby gerbil. She was sitting on the front stoop where Mom made us sit to hold the babies. Amy's baby was squirming and she didn't want to drop it, so she held it really tight. The next day, a baby died and Amy was convinced she killed it. God, Amy says, now that I remember, I was traumatized for a while. I begin to consider the power of suppressed memories and guilt. Amy works in hospice. I wonder if her career choice is related to the crushed gerbil. When I ask her how many there were, she says, I don't know, maybe 30? 30, I reply, thinking more like 84. Amy doesn't remember pet store drop-offs or snakes. I start to think perhaps I've made it up until she says, definitely sounds like Mom. I might not have been involved. I was older, like 5th grade, so I wasn't into the gerbils as much as you. I wasn't into the gerbils, I want to say defensively. Who wants to be into rodents? But maybe I was into the gerbils. So far, I'm the only one that remembered their names. Amy tells me it was juvenile gerbils that escaped, that we'd separated them so the adults wouldn't crush them or eat them. But after the juvies slipped through the bars, Dad said the gerbils had to go. I bring up the speaker wires. That wasn't gerbils, Amy says. That was wild mice, the ones that pulled Trisha's hair in the middle of the night. Talk about traumatizing, don't you remember? I do. My sister Trisha kept telling us at breakfast that something was pulling her hair out at night. No one believed her. Until my mom heard something in the walls, an exterminator was called, and he found nests in the attic made of Trisha's long, thick hair. Amy suggests I call Trisha about the gerbils. By now, I'm thinking gerbil is one of those words that sounds ridiculous the more you say it. Gerbil, gerbil, gerbil. I'm about to call Trisha when she calls me. She wants to know if she can send stuff from Pottery Barn to my house to store for my nephew who's starting at USC in the fall. Of course, I say. I was just going to call you about the gerbils. The gerbils? I tell Trisha about mining familial memories. Wow, she says, the gerbils. Well, there were dozens of them. They just kept having babies, like rabbits. Oh, remember how they held sunflower seeds in their little paws, their little twitching noses and big eyes? I should have called Trisha first. She's a college application consultant whose specialty is essays that resonate. People believe her stories now. I tell her about the urine-soaked cedar smell, that I'm thinking about starting my story with that. I would not mention the urine, she says. I can hear her nose wrinkle. You should talk about how cute the babies were, like little pink Georgia peanuts. Tiny, blind, vulnerable. I tell her about Amy's traumatic memory of crushing a baby. Amy did not kill a baby gerbil, Tricia says with absolute confidence. It died because the mom had an unusually large litter. It was about sustainable litter size. We talk about how the gerbils started coming fast and furious, how the gerbils started to take over. This, I remember, gerbils taking over. How many were there, I ask, thinking 84. Tricia doesn't give a firm number, just floats out more than 40, though. She suggests I research average gerbil litter size and then multiply exponentially. She says I should also check on sustainable litter size. She's certain there was an outlier litter with too many babies. That is why one of them died, Tricia says. Amy did not kill it. You should tell her. Tricia totally remembers the pet store ploy, but says she didn't have a role. Then she gives me a critical piece of information. You were always Mom's little helper. I'm pretty sure it was just you and Mom on the gerbil salvation mission. Now it all makes sense. This is why I remember Winnie and Hoppy's names, because I was responsible for their children and their children's children, because I divided families. And perhaps this is why I am obsessed with death, because at age 7, instead of being an angel of mercy, I may have unwittingly become an agent of death, sending an indeterminate number of gerbils to a sudden, brutal, unexpected end as snake food. It might have been dozens, or 30, or 40, or maybe it was 84.